Netta Felix live on TV360. Welcome to News Now. Police in Benue State have confirmed 10 people were killed in attacks by suspected bandits in 2 communities. In a statement signed by the command's public relations officer, Moses Yamon, the attacks happened on Thursday night at Seaudu and Enga villages in Gwe West local government area of Benue. The PRO, however, assured residents to remain calm and that the police officials have been deployed to the area. Senate President Bukola Saraki has condemned Thursday's attack on several banks in Ofakwara State by armed robbers. Armed robbers raided some commercial banks in the town, killing some police officers and residents. The robbers carted away an undisclosed amount of cash. They were said to have operated for about an hour after blocking the Ilorin-Oshobo entrances into the town. In a statement on Friday, Saraki also condoled with victims of the incident. Nigeria's Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tukur Buratai, has approved the release of a special promotion for 3,729 troops of Operation Deep Punch 2 in Sambisa Forest. Brigadier General Texas Chuku, Director, Army Public Relations, said in a statement that the promotion is in recognition of their valor and uncommon commitment to duty during the operation. A breakdown of the beneficiaries shows that 994 corporals were promoted to sergeants, 511 sergeants promoted to the rank of staff sergeants, 223 staff sergeants promoted to the rank of warrant officers, 932 private soldiers were promoted to lance corporals, and 1,064 lance corporals promoted to the rank of corporals. The Nigerian Army has restated its commitment to the protection of Nigeria's democracy. The Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tukur Buratai, said this at the 2018 Army Procurement Seminar at the Nigerian Army Resource Center, Abuja. The seminar was organized to review and improve the procurement policy of the Army and to address current security challenges in the country.
The security challenges facing our dear country manifest in the forms of terrorism, insurgency, separatist movements, and banditry, among others. Thus, there is no gainsaying the fact that the operational capability of the Nigerian Army today largely depends on the availability of requisite hardware, highly trained personnel, and other essential resources. In the past few years, the Nigerian Army has no doubt taken robust steps and in place policies in enhancing its procurement plans and processes with a view to meeting its overarching constitutional roles. We shall continually demonstrate our unalloyed loyalty and subordination to democratic governance. Given the enormous task we have, the Nigerian Army will continue to sustain its commitment to the nation's security with a high degree of enthusiasm, but also with a higher level of acceptability than we are witnessing today.
The House Committee on Army is delighted to identify with the Nigerian Army, and in particular the efforts to create transparent and accountable procurement system to support the increasing operational responsibilities and duties. For it to achieve its mandate, the Nigerian Army requires the provision of the right mix of materials at the right time and in the right quantity. We all do know that the logistic requirements of our present security environment are numerous and expensive. Unfortunately, the reality of life and of our current economic situation is that far from being adequate, even at the best of our times, our economic fortunes have witnessed a downward trend, making it imperative, therefore, for us to maximize the use of our resources.
On security matters, the much talked about amnesty for Boko Haram insurgents has been generating different reactions from Nigerians. Now, while some say amnesty may help achieve peace in the troubled Northeast, others say granting amnesty to Boko Haram may give a wrong impression that the Nigerian government condones armed agitation. Well, our correspondent in this next report spoke to a cross-section of Nigerians on the issue.
It is one issue that Nigerians are sharply divided about. Amnesty for Boko Haram, to be or not to be. The northeast of the country has witnessed killings, kidnappings, rape and destruction of homes. Many businesses have crumbled, while thousands have been condemned to IDP camps, courtesy of Boko Haram. To achieve peace in the region and get all kidnapped persons released, including the remaining Chibok girls, government is granting amnesty to insurgents who are willing to lay down arms and embrace peace. This move, however, has been rejected by some, while others think it is a good idea.
When it comes to ensuring peace, no price should be too much to ensure peace in Nigeria or anywhere in the world. And that is why you see, despite the World War I, World War II, people still sit around the round table to sort some issues out. And that is the essence of real peace. I know how, in as much as painful as it may be today, that to now hear that the Boko Haram that have killed thousands, destroys billions of properties, the federal government is thinking of granting them amnesty. Why should it be? I want us to cast our mind back to some years back during the regime of late President Umaru Musa Yar'Adua. After seeing that there will be a way, the only way to ensure peace in Niger Delta is to grant amnesty to the militants, that is the freedom fighters. The same way we have hues and cries, some supporting his move and some against it. But at the end of the day, to some, whatever you call it today, we have relative peace in Niger Delta.
I think this government is a bit confused. You do not grant amnesty to people who have a manifest agenda to seize your country, to seize territory. When you talk about an amnesty for Boko Haram, for example, these are people who are determined to seize part of Nigeria, hoisting their flags, seizing citizens, kidnapping, abducting, and forcefully converting citizens to a certain religion. And then you tell them you are granting amnesty. To me, that presupposes that they have defeated the Nigerian armed forces, which is presumed to be one of the strongest in Africa.
In granting amnesty to Boko Haram, some Nigerians are concerned about which faction would be granted amnesty and if all the factions will accept to drop their arms. Thus, the people want government to consider very well before extending the olive branch to the insurgents.
I'm not against talking to Boko Haram. I'm not against signing peace agreement with them. I might not even not be against amnesty, but I want to be sure that it's the Boko Haram that captures all the groups.
There's no basis for granting a terrorist amnesty, someone who has taken life based on an ideology, and you want to compare it with someone who has a legitimate agitation.
Everyone agrees peace is important in the northeast of the country, especially as the 2019 general elections draw near. But how to achieve this peace with Boko Haram threatening to cause more havoc is the question the Nigerian government needs to answer urgently.
This is not a war that anybody can win. This is not a war that is the kind of war that the military understands. This is a war that you don't even know who the enemy is. So if the enemy finally agrees to come and discuss with you and it will bring peace, why not?
What are the resources Boko Haram are agitating for? By the way, let me even ask a question. If you give someone amnesty, you need to pay them. Where are you going to get the money from? The money that was used to pay for amnesty for the Niger Delta was sourced from their lab. Are you going to take money from the Niger Delta to go and pay for amnesty for Boko Haram? It doesn't make sense to me.
I want to commend the president to go ahead with it, if and only if that one will ensure peace. But if it will be the other way around, if we will not achieve the peace, then I think Nigerians should think of another thing to do. So if amnesty will help us, we ensure that peace, we ensure that we will see this locusts again, then I think Nigeria, no matter how painful it is, we must accept it.
Nigerians want government to put in more intelligence and surveillance work to determine if the amnesty step will bring about relative peace in the north, as experienced with the Niger Delta militants.
A coalition of civil society group, Mumudondu, led by Charles Oputa, led a peaceful protest at the headquarters of the Independent National Electoral Commission to promptly prosecute former Deputy President of the Senate, Ibrahim Mantu, for electoral fraud. Senator Mantu had recently confessed on television that he helped rig election for the PDP during their 16 years in power. The group asked the electoral umpire to set up processes to try Mantu in court for willfully subverting the people's choice over the years. They also called on Nigerians to pick up their permanent voter card from INEC offices to minimize the chances of electoral fraud in 2019.
We are also urging the Independent National Electoral Commission to take this initiative as an opportunity to revisit the clamor of the Nigerian people for an Electoral Offences Commission. As you all know, the Ekiti State and Osun State elections are drawing near, and we do not want a situation where electoral malpractices will mar the free will of Nigerians to participate in the democratic process. Again, we believe that the crime which Senator Ibrahim Mantu has confessed to does not have any statute of limitation. It is important that the Nigerian people who have obviously voiced their discontent and disaffection for the current administration to participate in the democratic process so that we can by ourselves elect competent leaders who will change the trajectory of this nation.
Spokesman to former President Goodluck Jonathan, Ike Chukwueze, has refuted media reports linking the People's Democratic Party to the controversial Cambridge Analytica saga. According to a statement he issued, Jonathan was not aware of any attempts by the political consultancy to interfere in elections in 2007 and 2015. Cambridge Analytica is facing allegations that it improperly assessed data from Facebook to target voters prior to the U.S. presidential election and Britain's Brexit referendum in 2016. A government committee is looking into claims that SCL Elections, a Cambridge Analytica affiliate, organized rallies to dissuade opposition supporters from voting against the People's Democratic Party in 2007. Senator Dino Melaye has filed an appeal at the Supreme Court seeking an order restraining the Independent National Electoral Commission from proceeding with his recall from the Senate. Melaye's appeal is sequel to a judgment delivered by the Court of Appeal on March 16. The appellate court had given INEC the go-ahead on the recall, but the lawmaker has asked the apex court to overrule the lower court's decision. We'll take a break now to return with more stories, so stay with us on TV360.
Mr. John! Mr. John! What is it now?
What is it now?
Please turn down the volume of your music. It's too loud.
And how is that your business?
It is disturbing me. I can't sleep.
And the same way you are disturbing my right to good music and where I enjoy it. Eh? What's wrong with you? Is any other person complaining?
Maybe we thought that you have lost your mind. Are you having a party?
I'm just respecting you, sir. You remember, I've paid my husband too.
You will not understand why we are complaining because you do not care about other people except yourself. Look, the transformation we need in this country begins in this compound.
Yes, now.
From you, and I. This, your selfishness is an offshoot of corruption. And corruption,
not in my country.
You know, go to your bank. Go.
Corruption, not in my country.
$100,000 people to get only 10 people to register to vote, 10 new voters. Each of us standing here today, when you get back home, when you get to your place of work, your school, try and get 10 new people that do not have their PPC to register to vote. We're going to take on our website, onevoice.ng, Please go there, give us the information. If you get 10 people to vote, then you're amongst us.
So at least start with your voter's card and begin to use that to bargain about the type of person you want to see on February 16, 2019 and March 2nd on the ballot paper.
So we want to focus on people who haven't voted before. It's 100,000 people who are looking to pledge that, because that gives us a minimum of 1 million new voters.
Instead of to say, oh, my vote no go count now, try vote first when you see whether it will count, you know.
For the first time in 2018, Nigeria's Monetary Policy Committee met on Wednesday, April 4, to review the country's interest rates. The new committee, which had not met since November 2017, agreed to leave the country's interest rate at 14% for the 9th time in a row. It has been at that level since July 2016. But other than monetary policy rates, the central bank governor, Godwin Emefiele, also spoke on some fundamental issues affecting the economy. Well, this next report takes a look at some of the issues the head of the Apex Bank spoke about.
It's still about
one of the issues journalists raised with the central bank governor during the question and answer session after the MPC meeting was the almost near absence of lending to private sector. With most deposit money banks battling huge size of non-performing loans, lending to the private sector has drastically come down, and in cases where the banks lend, the interest rates are usually very high. Mr. Emefiele says it is an issue the Apex Bank is really worried about.
From time to time, the Banking Supervision Department that primarily supervises that has direct oversight on the operations of banks puts in place policies that will encourage credit. The Monetary Policy Committee indeed looked at the size of credit to the economy and are not very satisfied that credit growth has not been as good as we thought. For instance, between November or December last year till February, the volume of credit has practically plateaued at 16 trillion naira, which we consider very, very low, because we think that for us to really push for growth, then deposit money banks must, one way or the other, be encouraged to grant credit to those who need credit. And the details as to the kind of guidelines that will be unfolded by the central bank to the deposit money banks to encourage them to increase credit to the private sector so as to catalyze growth in the economy will be made available in due course. However, it's important for us to know that the CBN will continue to adopt, like I said in the course of reading the communique, that will continue to adopt the unconventional monetary policy approach that is in line with our development finance objectives to pursue, to accelerate credit to the weak, to the needy, to priority sectors of the economy at single-digit interest rates.
The next issue, government's debts to contractors. The huge debt has practically slowed down work on key infrastructure projects across the country, and even banks have also taken a hit.
The size of contractor debts is almost close to about 3 trillion, about 2.7 trillion, and it would be nice. And most of these, because these debts are unpaid to the contractors themselves are unable to service or pay back their loans at the banks. And that's why we seized the opportunity of this communique to also talk about it so that these debts can be paid. The central bank itself stands ready to accord some form of liquidity status to some of these debts. And through that mechanism, we believe that NPLs will recede, and then the economy, the banks can now continue to play their role, which is to catalyze growth and support credit delivery to the Nigerian economy.
The Nigerian government has been looking for investors to come construct new refineries in the country. Emefiele says with the country's sizable external reserve, the Apex Bank is willing to support any investor who indicates serious interest.
The federal government is encouraging private sector investors to come into refineries. And what we do expect, though, is that when those private sector investors are coming into the refinery business, if they are foreign, then they will come with their dollars, so they won't need our dollars. But if they are local and they will need to import the refinery equipment, of course, we have lots and ample of dollars to allocate to them for them to bring in their equipment. And I can assure anyone who is interested in going into refinery business, if you have your license from the federal government, we will accord priority.
The Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation has already announced it will soon reach an agreement with investors who are ready to finance the rehabilitation of 3 key refineries in the country. The agreement will ensure the rehabilitation of the Port Harcourt Refining Company Limited, PHRC, Warri Refining and Petrochemical Company Limited, WRPC, and the Kaduna Refining and Petrochemical Company Limited. It will also reduce fuel imports, which costs the country a reported $15 billion annually.
The management of all the river basin authorities in Nigeria has been charged to support the agricultural initiative of the present administration to ensure food surplus in the country. Permanent Secretary of the Federal Ministry of Water Resources, Musa Ibrahim, gave the charge to all the management and new boards of river basins across the country during a one-day retreat. The management promised to impact the lives of their immediate communities and improve agricultural produce by providing water for local farmers.
We're going to drive in agriculture to take the mainstream as against when it was oil. And you can see now that the GDP is going to increase because of this. And this exercise is the first exercise that we've had as the management and the new board, so that we can work harmoniously in a very good relationship.
Right now, we shouldn't be talking about what food to eat, how to get it in a country so blessed with fertile land, so blessed with massive land, so blessed with very good climatic conditions, all year round agriculture friendly, farming friendly climate.
The area that we cover, which is Anambra, Abia, Ebonyi, Enugu, and Imo states, we have budgetary provisions try to provide water for domestic, industrial, and agricultural use.
A cholera outbreak in overcrowded refugee camps in Uganda has killed 40 people and infected over 2,000 as health workers rush to stem the spread, aid agencies say. Emergency Operations Coordinator of the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies, Andres Sandin, said the waterborne disease has spread rapidly since mid-February due to poor sanitation and lack of clean water, and that aid agencies have set up treatment centers and are trucking in water in response. Most people recover from cholera if treated promptly with oral rehydration salts, but can die within hours if not. On the international scene, former South African President Jacob Zuma insists that the corruption charges he faces are politically motivated after his first court appearance on corruption charges relating to a $2.5 billion arms deal. While he told a crowd of supporters outside the Durban High Court that he will be proven innocent in a long-running case that's to face after his fall from power. He faces 16 charges, including fraud, racketeering, and money laundering. The case was adjourned to June 8th, so both sides could prepare submissions for the trial. And in sports, Chinese Super Eagle outfits on Thursday confirmed that their injured striker, Obafemi Martins, had traveled to England to undergo surgery. Martins is flying to UK for surgery today, they say. Be well soon. The 33-year-old is set to spend about 7 months on the sidelines after suffering a hamstring injury in his right knee on Tuesday's Asian Champions League encounter against Kashima Antlers. In a message via their Twitter handle, his Chinese club wished him a speedy recovery. Queensland State Police have charged a 52-year-old Mauritius team official for sexually assaulting one of the athletes at the Commonwealth Games. The Mauritius Sports Ministry said Casey Teruvandum stepped down after assaulting a gymnast at the Games. The Mauritius Sports Ministry told Tiruvangandum that he agreed to resign his role and had departed the athlete's village but remained on the Gold Coast because of the police investigation. He is due to appear in Southport Magistrate Court on April 17. Mixed martial arts star fighter Conor McGregor has been charged with assault and criminal mischief by New York City Police Department following an incident at the UCF Media Day Brooklyn's Barclays Center. The former two-weight champion was part of a group alleged to have vandalized a bus containing rival fighters. The Irishman turned himself into police custody on Thursday. He's set to appear at Brooklyn Criminal Court. And you are now up to date on News Now. I am Annetta Felix. Bye for now.